going live and it's working. How about that? Okay. Um. Oh, cold day today. So my name's Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It's Thursday, the 19th of February, and it's 7:38 in the morning, and it feels cold today. I don't know if we're getting rain or something. We'll take a quick look. 56, partly cloudy. No, I don't see rain. I just see partial. It's probably going to warm up. We're going to get up to 65. That's not exactly a heat wave, but we'll be warmed up. There was probably wind or I don't know. And it's going to go down to about, it'd be really cold tonight for us, 47. Okay. And then it gets weird. Tomorrow, sunny, or Friday, we go to 72. Weirder again. Saturday, sunny, we go to 73. And then Sunday, sunny, and we drop to a high of 65. And then Monday, unfortunately, they're calling for rain. And then we have a high of 60. So whatever warming up the house does in the next 3 or 4 days, it's going to be reversed. And then it starts warming up again and staying in the 60s. So this is kind of coming out of the winter, but not exactly. As long as you keep getting rain, you're not really out of the winter, you know? All right, we got a lot to cover today. Quick synopsis, Trump's going to go. I look at what's going on now, and I think Trump's in a real go mood. He's going, okay? There doesn't look like there's any deal coming with Iran. And there's some mitigating circumstances that are troubling Trump. One of them, and I know some of you aren't going to like this, is the Epstein files. He needs a big distraction from that. The other thing he needs, and this is serious war technology, is Iran is fortifying all the facilities that don't want to get hit, which could be nuclear facilities, bunkers, ballistic missile launch, underground places. And what does fortifying mean? Well, it means a million things. What they're probably doing is around the facilities laying more and more concrete. I'm sure Iran has a lot of concrete, and they're just laying more and more concrete. So, every time you put another 3 feet in, you're, making it more difficult to attack it, and you got to change the type of ordnance or bomb or missile that you're using. So what happens if you put 11 or 12 feet of concrete in? Well, maybe your, MOP bomb would have worked previously, but now it won't work. So, they say they got 100 missile cities. I don't know how many they have. I'm pretty sure it's a bunch, though. And Trump needs to take those out. He needs to take their radar out. He needs to stop them from closing the Persian Gulf. I think the Persian Gulf is pretty much closed already. They did a NOTAM on it, I think, for today, because they're firing live missiles. Who's going to drive a merchant marine vessel or a civilian vessel, a container ship, for instance, or a banana boat? Who's going to drive it through the Persian Gulf when they got a NOTAM, and which is no aircraft in the area, and they're shooting live missiles? Who's going to go through there? You'd have to be a drunk seafaring captain, to do that. And they don't have very many drunk seafaring captains. That doesn't work. What crew's going to go out with a guy sitting there drinking, a fifth of scotch every day? Nobody's going to do that. Okay. if you like drinking a lot of whiskey or booze, you like falling asleep. You like sleeping, you know. What does a heroin addict do? A lot of sleep. What do these junkies do? They get if they get together, right? And they have a house or something like that. What do? They sit around and they take their heroin and then you know they're gonna fall asleep sooner or later. They might talk for a while. They don't get sexual. They don't care about that. They're gonna they're gonna fall asleep. And that's they call it. They used to call it in my day going on the nod. That's what they do. They sleep. So I mean, if you're going to take a lot of narcotics, you got to like sleeping. Anyway, listen. Trump looks like he's in a go mood now. They're talking about possibly by Saturday, and we're getting warnings and alerts from Israel that we weren't getting before. So it looks very, very serious. And they're saying about 1/3 of America's military assets are in the Middle East now. Now, I'm having to scratch my head and deal with that, but I heard it more than once. So it's probably true or close to it. So what does that do? That leaves the daughter of Babylon very vulnerable for attack right now, doesn't it? And we got Chinese and Russian warships in the Persian, not so much the Persian Gulf, by the Straits of Hormuz and outside the Straits of Hormuz by the Sea of Oman and stuff like that. There's out there with Iranian ships. There's a total of about 15. You got about 3 or 4 Chinese and about 3 or 4 Russian, and then you got a bunch of Iranian warships. And they're running around conducting exercises out there with Iran. And what does Trump do when the Persian Gulf is closed and China and Russia are there? I mean, guys, China and Russia don't have to send 73 warships over there because they know that Trump is not, exactly Wyatt Earp, brave, courageous, and bold. He's meek, timid, with a big mouth, and hates to deliver on his threats. But he's scared. That's why. So they're trying to scare Trump. Now, this is catastrophic. Uh, this could bring Jeremiah 30, verse 11 on. Okay. This could bring Jeremiah 50 and 51 on. This can be a trigger for the whole cascade of events. Do I know that's going to be the case? Let's just say I'm hoping for it, okay, as you guys are. All right, let's go in. Let me go into the live stream and put a post up and make sure we got a live stream, and then we'll get going. I don't want to stay on here like 3 hours or anything like that. It's too long. I'm going to try to get this done concisely. Too long. I'm going to try to, if I can, this done concisely. Too long. I'm going to try to. There's a lot of things to cover. What I gotta do is bring all the facts to bear about this, so you're going to be on your high alerts and be ready for something to come down. Israel may suffer from this, by the way. I don't know. I don't think it'll suffer a whole lot, but it could. To date, I think we have 925 dead soldiers from the Gaza conflict in Gaza. That's not a great figure. Okay. All right. Let me get my post up and we'll get moving here. Give people a chance to come in. My post is going to take seconds, not minutes. I'm checking for typos. No typos. Pin this up. And I believe it pinned. And we'll get going right away. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise, which you can join in with. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Guys, if you wouldn't mind, could you pray for my back? I got some vertebrae out, and it hurts me. It's getting better a little bit, but it still hurts me. So pray my back, this whatever the vertebrae being out on my back, whatever is gets better and heals up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Do I have any prayer requests in the middle of this? No. I want to start with a Bible verse from Jeremiah 31, verse 35, 36. So I want to set the stage because this is serious stuff here. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Jehovah of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Jehovah, then the seed of Israel, that be us, also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Okay? And that means it ain't going to happen, okay? So, because this, what we're going on now here is real serious stuff. And before I was doubting, that this is going to go down. And I'm not doubting it. I'm pretty sure something's going down. And it's going to have pretty grave consequences. Remember that we're in end times, and when you're in end times, you've got to be ready for unexpected events, and don't be thinking everything's going to go as planned. Okay? So the fortification of these facilities that Trump wants to destroy are being worked on all day, probably all night, by Iran. So they know they're not going to shoot down, 80% of the American and Israeli planes. They know they're not even going to shoot down 8%. They're not going to shoot down 1%. Maybe 0% is what they're going to shoot down. So they're just building themselves to take the punishment. And what they're also doing, drum roll, what they're also doing is making America expend more and more bombs. The more and more bombs and missiles and protective missiles and all this stuff that America uses up in the Middle East leaves less for it to fight in Europe, Asia, and protect its own homeland. Don't lose sight of that. You see, in the greater scheme of things, with the so-called axis of evil, China is the top. They're the kingpin, okay? They're the biggest, they're the wealthiest, they got the most weapons, the most military by far. They're way the heck up there. Next is Russia, but Russia's a drop down. It's not one step down. It's like 3 steps down. Okay. But it's still an important player. Okay. But look how Ukraine's handing them their head militarily. Now, Ukraine couldn't do that with China. China would swarm them, you know. All right. Now, under Russia, you would get Iran, which is a friend of theirs, but it's a disposable asset. Okay? They don't want it disposed. When Trump finishes off Iran, which in the scriptures, Iran will be finished off. It's in Jeremiah 49. It's referred to as Elam, which would also include Iraq and possibly pieces of Syria. But mostly I'm looking at Iraq and Iran. Okay, that's the end of their BRICS game to devalue the American dollar. You got to remember something. Anytime you start trying to devalue the American dollar, America will go to war. The same jackasses that are running America are not the elected presidents. Do you think Ronald Reagan and George Bush Jr. and Obama and these derelicts, these shipwrecks, were able to run a country like America? You believe that? They were figureheads to make the American people think they got a freedom. They vote for their elected official, and every elected official they get to vote for is a Satan bot. It doesn't matter who they vote. That's you want this Satan bot or that Satan bot. Those are the choices they have. Satan wins no matter who they vote for. So, it's not what you think. Okay, so if enough time goes by, like another month, Iran's going to fortify not just their nuclear facilities, their missile cities, their bunkers, their command centers, many different things. And Russia and China keep flying more and more weapons in over there. Okay? So, what do you got, You got a formula for disaster for Trump if he waits, because he ain't going to be able to bomb what he wants to bomb. Neither will Israel, neither will anybody. They'll just laugh at him. Now, that could lead to Iran returning the favor, shutting the Persian Gulf. The safest move for Iran, in terms of being an aggressive idiot country, is to shut the Persian Gulf, because it's the least chance that they're going to be attacked by America and or Israel if the Persian Gulf gets shut. It's going to lead into diplomatic discussions immediately. And that is what Iran wants, because while these new diplomatic discussions are taking place, they're fortifying everything they got. China and Russia are saying this is great. If Iran fortifies everything with another 8 or 10 feet of concrete, America's going to have to use up so many bombs to get through. They're gonna need to take 2 years to rebuild their inventory. What a great time for us to attack. The original plan, I told you, would be draw America into the Middle East. Putin will try to do something. He has to be careful after the Middle East is going to draw more or create more problems in Europe without causing an invasion of Russia. That could be staging on borders, rogue drone incursions for surveillance, not an actual attack, just scary stuff. And then NATO decides to mobilize in Europe. To protect these countries in NATO, and America is involved. Next, North Korea starts continuous missile testing, irritating Japan and South Korea, and making sure there's all kinds of interesting weapons on the border with South Korea. And they start conducting military exercises around Taiwan. Now America has to minimally keep their large amount of assets in Asia or move more out there. Now, Russia would probably be careful not to attack anywhere else other than Ukraine, and China wouldn't actually attack either. This is one scenario. So military assets leave America, and that opens the door to attack America. The other plan, which could very likely be the one, China and Russia deploy some assets to attack in these regions. China would have to deploy a substantial amount of assets to do Taiwan. But it could spare them. North Korea would engage South Korea. China would be protecting. Japan would get into it. And China would have to be involved. Could America make a good show of force if it had to deal with the Middle East and Putin started lighting things up in Europe, and they had to deal with protecting Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea? I would say they're stretched too thin. If they could handle that, they couldn't handle that and defend the United States properly. So this could lead to the destruction of Daughter of Babylon, but it could be preceded by the destruction of Iran and Iraq. And that would deplete a lot of munitions from Israel and America. They're not so much worried about getting America right now. They're more worried about weakening, because you see, once they get rid of America, they figure anytime they want, they can get rid of Israel. They're not fearing God. America's irrelevant. It's God. So what have you got here? You got America knocking the lights out of Iran and Iraq, and then they're vulnerable and they get attacked. The homeland of America gets attacked. And let's not forget that the sleeper agents didn't go anywhere. Okay? Just because they don't talk about them doesn't mean anything. So the fortifying the installations is a serious problem because if it is allowed to continue long enough, they're never getting the bombs through. Concrete is cheap. Okay, that doesn't cost a lot of money. You just keep layering it on and on and on. And, it becomes very, very protective. Okay. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. Okay. The Ranger Road fire has now burned a staggering 283,283 acres across Oklahoma, the Panhandle, and Kansas. And this confirmed by Oklahoma Forestry Service. Unfortunately, this number will only go up because I don't believe they have any containment on the fire, or at least no substantial containment. So I will kindle fires in and around your cities. That goes to the daughter of Babylon. Winter fires like this in America are far from normal. Speaking of far from normal, this is the second time I saw this in recent weeks or months. A swarm of 33 earthquakes within a 90-minute time period in San Francisco. Now, I lived in San Francisco many years, but it was very early. I got there in maybe the end of 70, or I was in the Bay Area in 70. I was in I was living in a place called Hayward. I went to San Francisco, I think, in 71. And it was a nice place. It didn't have this big LGBT atmosphere about it at all. I mean, it was going on there more than it did in a lot of other places. Specifically, there was two areas. One was called Castro Street and one was called Polk Street. And they had several gay bars, and that was it. The rest of the city was pretty heterosexual. And they had also downtown near the waterfront at night, they had gay bars that were weird. Then in Oakland, they had a very large lesbian community, but not that large, but that was the other side of the Bay Bridge. So that was what went on. So it was pretty heterosexual in reality. And I enjoyed living there, but the earthquakes were pretty scary. I went through a number of them. They're really rather scary. Okay. Earthquakes typically come on a sunny day where it's dry. They don't tell you this, but when it's raining and damp and cold, and you don't get earthquakes. You get in San Francisco area anyway. You get them when it's a nice sunny day and dry weather. I can't remember an earthquake in cold, damp, bad weather. I don't remember it at all. So anyway, but I never saw a swarm like this. I know when we lived there, and I lived there, people would have went out of their mind if there was a swarm like this. People go crazy. You can get out of there without going on the bridge or anything like that. You just go down the peninsula. And you can do that, where you got the ocean on one side of you and the bay on the other. It's a peninsula, but you're okay, I guess, unless it gets really bad. So that is, I mean, it's the second time it happened. Now, San Francisco is a pretty evil place. A lot of drug addicts. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in San Francisco. A lot of bad stuff. And remember, Trump's got a motive now to bury that Epstein thing because people are constantly, moving on that. They want Justice Department to stop the redacting and everything. So regarding Gaza now, Trump has a little more than 24 countries sending delegates to the Board of Peace summit in Gaza. Netanyahu decided he's not going to be one of those on the Board of Peace that is going to give money for the reconstruction of Gaza. So I was shocked to see that finally Netanyahu did something rather intelligent with the people in Israel having food insecurity. All we needed was that mental midget to tell Trump, yeah, sure, I'll give you $1 billion. The people could eat breadcrumbs, it don't matter. The world would give humanitarian aid to Satan's chosen people in Gaza, but not Israel. In the past 24 hours, 6 U.S. Air Force E-3G Sentry AWACS were observed deploying from the U.S. to Europe. Well, from Europe, they can quickly come here. AWACS are like command control planes, okay? They tend to stay behind the fighting, and they do electronic warfare. They do all sorts of stuff. And he's moving Trump's basically bringing the kitchen sink into the Middle East. Let's keep going. 2 E-3Gs coming from Elmdorf Air Force Base in Alaska to the RAF, the British base called Mildenhall. 4 E-3Gs coming from Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma, going to Ramstein in Germany. So this is 4, 6, 9 of these AWACS. 9? I was reading that Trump intends to not just hit Iran, but also hit the proxies, which would be Iraq, Yemen, Hezbollah, Gaza sort of played out, okay? So with that number of AWACS, he's going to open up a lot of fronts. I think this whole thing has gone beyond scaring Iran. Now, you're not hearing any, Fox News or, Hannity or any of these characters sitting there telling you about the Chinese naval warships and the Russian naval warships conducting exercises with Iran today by the Straits of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, Sea of Oman, and all the Indian Ocean and all that. No. They should. The AWAC E3 deployments are, by the military guys, are saying that's the last piece of the puzzle. That's the last thing they bring in. Because they use these AWACs during the attack. They're not really for before the attack or, or after the attack. They manage and run and supervise and control the attack. So they're essentially very important to the war. So when you see them showing up, it's go time, okay? But I mean, so many of them showing up, I'm concerned why they need so many of them. I don't get it. I would think 3 would be very sufficient. I don't know what they're planning on. They might be afraid of getting interference from China and Russia warships, and then it could get pretty bad really immediately. See, the way this works is China's saying, oh, Trump, you better not dare touch our ships. And then the ships, the Chinese and the Russian ships, are going to be dictating to Trump what he can't do. Trump's not going to go for that. So this could bring a war between China and Russia and America. It would take China a long time to mobilize to come to the Middle East. They could send aircraft really quick. Same with Russia, but it's as if Trump is gearing up to not just fight Iran, but to fight Russia, China, and Iran. Now, Yemen's going to help them. Iraq's going to help them. Hezbollah might help them, but there's not a tremendous amount they can do. Israel recently told Iran that if you deploy Hezbollah against us, tell them to bomb and attack us. What we do to you in Iran is going to get more serious. But that threat is, believe me, completely ignored by Iran. Completely. They don't care. Iran is just sitting there saying they can't invade us, and that would be extremely difficult, and it would take a force, I would think, realistically, 750,000, maybe after you dropped 4,800 bombs on Iran, and they were in such disarray and discombobulated and damaged, and maybe 750,000 would do it. You got mountains all over the place. People can hide with weapons, and they're already there with weapons. Like Hamas in Gaza went to the tunnels, they go to the mountains, and they have caves and dugouts and tunnels and mountains. Very difficult to blow them up. And they can shoot down from the mountains near roads and strategic points and paralyze ground forces. So, this war might take some time. It's not going to be a lot of fun for Israel. Could this be the time for Elijah to work openly? It could. Do I know for sure? No. Do I have suspicions that the Lord's not going to leave us hanging out here in these horrible times because we're all crying out to him? Yep. Do I believe we're not going to see it coming until it arrives? Yep. Do I believe we're going to have surprises along the way? I'd say pleasant ones for us, but yes, all things work to good for those who love the Lord. Yes. Can Jehovah make all this stuff happen just really fast? Yep. I still think y'all need to be in, those with the true gospel need to be in Israel. I believe that. I've never had the Lord correct me on that. He's never told me, no, that's not right. I never heard that. But I never heard him tell me that is the case either. But I think I'm walking correctly when I think that way. But could be wrong. That's not a question of interpreting a prophecy. I mean, yeah, there is prophecy. There's a lot of believers in Jerusalem in Zechariah 12. So, but that doesn't mean it came from this. But I think it fits good. But it's not. There's no prophecy that says they're going to come, from other countries here to spread the gospel. There's nothing like that. So I don't know. But it's what I think, okay? He's not sending people here that are going to teach Schofield and Darby and once saved, always saved, and pre-trib rapture, and go to the church you're choosing, let's build a building, and none of that. That's not going to work. He's not trying to curse Israel with the crazy false doctrines. Okay, the nuclear-powered submarine USS Georgia, an Ohio class, constitutes a central pillar of American deterrence and power projection in the Middle East. As of this month, the submarine is operating under the command of U.S. CENTCOM, moving between the Mediterranean Sea and the Persian Gulf. It was deployed to the region in August 2024 as a deterrent against Iran in June 2025. It reportedly participated in Operation Midnight Hammer, during which it is said to have launched dozens of Tomahawk missiles at targets inside Iran, including facilities near Isfahan. This ship, the Georgia, is got fairly incredible combat capabilities. It has long-range strike capability with missiles. It can shoot missiles from distances of up to 2,500 kilometers, which is about 1,500 miles. That's far. Enabling it to strike targets anywhere in Iran while remaining in secure international waters. Destruction of critical infrastructure. Its primary mission would be to neutralize air defense systems command and control. So that would be hitting the radar and the missiles that get fired at aircraft and incoming missiles and drones. They would be using cruise missiles for that. To hit missile launch sites and bases of the IRGC during the operation phase of this. I think this thing holds about 150 or 180 missiles. Now, the tubes are probably maybe 16 tubes, so it's a constant, reloading, but it's going to fire from under the water. The Iranians aren't going to be able to do anything except, call the fire department and the ambulances, Now, they're also going to have strategic bombers like the B-2. There was at the base where the B-2s were, there was some activity that was unusual, making people think the B-2's going to deploy. Now, the B-2 is probably going to come right before it's being used. So this is I think it's more than one of them here. One of these submarines. I think they're going to probably have 6 running around. They're going to have some in the Mediterranean. They're going to have some around Yemen, and they'll have some around the Indian Ocean and Sea of Oman and uh, things like that, the Persian Gulf. They're going to maybe have more than 6, but I would say at least 6. They'll probably run them in pairs. They're so advanced that I don't think they got any threat level coming from any weapons that Iran has. China and Russia is a different story. I don't know. So, what I'm telling you is Trump's bringing the whole kitchen sink over here, and that is something we never saw before. And he's bringing them in high quantities. Trump's in a go mode. Vance, I think, was saying that there's red line obstacles with Iran's support of the proxies, Iran ending its nuclear enrichment, and the ballistic missiles. And that's not even getting into the way they're treating the people, which they're continuing to shoot them. So Trump is looking bad. This Georgia submarine is it's a stealth-based, high-precision strike capable submarine, and it's designed to dominate what it wants to dominate, which is firing missiles at the land. So the only thing Iran could do is pick it up when it's on the way and to track it, and it's probably going to blow up at the target. Now, Russia has a plane called a Tupolev 214 PU. It's just like PU, All right. So it's actually not a PU, it's a TU. Airborne Command Post. So this is sort of like an AWAC. Okay, Tupolev is a series of planes they have. They have a Tupolev bomber. I ran into one of these. It was in Syria maybe 9 or 10 years ago, maybe longer. No, 9 or 10 years ago, probably 10. It has two propellers and it breaks the sound barrier. It goes over 750 miles an hour. And it's a big, long range, heavy bomber. And it has four motors. Each motor has a prop going this way and a prop going that way. Go figure. But it gets the thing going very, very fast. And it makes a racket. You have no idea. I heard this thing flying around by Syria miles away. This thing is loud, I'm telling you. I don't know how effective these Tupolevs are, but if it's the same Tupolev, but this one may not have the double props. It may not have a need to break the sound barrier. So they took this Tupolev Tu-214PU and they have it parked in Tehran right now. They had the guts to fly it to Iran and park it in the capital city. So obviously it's going to be used and it's going to gather a lot of intel and it's going to be rather dangerous. And it's going to try to pick up stealth jets and direct missiles, probably, I don't know, into the stealth jets. So does the American military just put up with it? Or do they call Putin's bluff and sink the Tupolev, take it out of the sky rather rapidly? So that way. And see what Russia does about it. See where we're going? We're not into routine situation here. We're not into what's taken place in the past with Iran. This is uncharted waters, okay? This Russian plane is hardened, by the way. So that means it's got armoring on it. Now, I don't know what that means. I mean, is it going to take a missile with a 90-pound warhead? I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't know what's up with that. Okay, it's a command center. You use this plane to run the military during an act of war, where the bombs are going off and the bullets are flying. The arrival of this plane, we're told, is showing you that Russia is not that interested in just leaving Iran to fend for itself. It's not going to bring its own planes in and its own warships and risk getting destroyed because it's saving that to kill America's homeland. Russia and Iran signed in last year, 2025, a 20-year mutual defense partnership thing. See, Russia can't go and send, 185 aircraft over there and 45 Navy vessels because it has to worry about defending itself. And the play to whittle America down is not just Iran. It's going to spread to other regions. So he needs these war toys to fight in these other regions. And then ultimately they need to attack America. Now, it tells us they're going to come in from the north, I think, initially of America. Now, what's north of America is, it's not Brazil or Mexico, it's Canada. Now, is the Canadian government rising the people up to come to America and kill Americans? No, not even close. But is that government rotten enough to go to bed with Russia and China and let them put troops in their country? Yep. Oh, yeah, they are. And nobody's going to tell us about it if the troops are there. I'm going to take a break very quickly and come right back. We're far from done. There's a lot more going on there with this war. The sun came out. Crazy weather. All right. See, this is a case of Trump going too far for a bluff. It's too much. He's diminished the defensive capabilities of the United States for this bluff. No way. No. Now, how the heck is Trump plan to deal with the Russian warships and planes? And I'm sure there's Chinese planes there now too. And their warships when Iran closes the Persian Gulf, which it's really just about closed already. There's a NOTAM today. You can't fly over there. I don't think you want to run your ships over there either, with missiles flying around. The Pentagon would tell the Russians any interference from your Navy ships that appear to threaten any of our military assets or our allies will cause us to fire on them. Now, they won't believe it until it happens, and then they'll be mad. Now, it's going to take time to bring naval assets to the region, but air assets could get there in hours. So, I don't know. I mean, China could have moved assets into the area already. They're friends with Pakistan. They could have put 100 planes in Pakistan. I don't know. You know? I'm not sure what's going on. The Gerald Ford aircraft carrier was seen by Morocco. So it's legitimately going through the Straits of Gibraltar, or maybe it's already gotten through. So it might be in what you call operational range in about 3 days. So let's see, what are you looking at? Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday or Sunday. It'll be in operational range. Now, will Trump move with just 2 aircraft carriers? I don't know. He might be afraid to wait to mid-March to get the Bush carrier here, because by then Iran's going to be so heavily fortified, he's not going to be able to get in. If you can't get into their facilities, their missile cities, their nuclear facilities, their underground places where they hide military, what's your next option? Go home and forget about it? No. You destroy the infrastructure of the country. Like what? You blow up their ports and their piers. There's no replenishment of anything coming from China or Russia by ship. You blow up their airports and you keep blowing them up because they rebuild airports. You keep blowing them up. They're easy to blow up if you do it the right way. If you just blow the runway up, you're a punk. If you blow the conning tower up, where they got all the radar and the air traffic controllers and all that, and you blow up the runway, and you blow up the hangars, and you blow up the refueling capability they have there, and you hit the terminals and the roads, then you're talking many months to rebuild. So without airports and without ships, they're not getting goods with any speed anyway. Then you start with the railroads. You might want to get certain bridges, dams, depends. You can go for their TV stations, government TV station, government radio, the cell phone towers. and then any and all government buildings and structures you could find, which would be quite a few. So they have their missile cities, but they don't have an infrastructure upstairs. So that's the other way of doing it. That's a lot of casualties. There's no other highly effective, rapid way of doing this. The missile cities could still be operating, so you've got to bomb. They got to have openings for the missiles to depart from their underground facilities, or they're being embedded in the side of a mountain or something. So you have to stop those facilities from having openings or being able to open them. The other thing they'll try is killing a large number of government officials. Khomeini and his crew may be 300 or 500 feet underground. And that's that. But there's a tremendous other amount of generals, admirals, parliament people, mayors, people the head of any government agency, their food and drug, their education, their transportation, any of this stuff, and kill them. Kill the parliament. So you get the effect of nobody's in charge. When you've got that sufficiently done, Pahlavi, I think that's his name, the son of the Shah of Iran, the dead son, the dead Shah, his son starts to show up in Iran and take over. So these jerks could stay in the bunkers. Now, let me tell you something else. America will know where the bunkers are. And, years ago, I don't know if they still sell it. In the United States, they sold an anti-bug, specifically cockroaches, but it would work on ants and stuff, mostly for cockroaches. It was called the Roach Motel. Okay? And it said they can check in, but they can't check out. And it was built out of cardboard, and it looked like a little building. And there was stuff inside there that made the roaches want to go smell it, to eat it. They thought it was a food or something. And they would walk inside there, and they instinctually don't have any skill for this. And there was sticky paper inside the house. So once they walked in, they got stuck in the sticky paper and they couldn't leave. And they would die. And no water, no food. They probably accelerated their death by struggling to get out. So you can take the same concept. You can go in your underground bunker, but you can't get out. How does that work? You bury them in with using bombs to dump all sorts of stuff on them, and you make it so they can't get out. They got to have entrances and exits, and you blow those up. So Khomeini's alive, but great. He may or may not be getting oxygen. And he may have a lot of food and water there, but he's going to die there. Special forces can do that. Instead of trying to dig them out and kill them, bury them. You know, make them into a bunch of King Tuts. You know. You go tell Khomeini to walk like an Egyptian, you know, and keep him buried in there, entombed. He might have plans for that, like he could be deep underground and they could have a tunnel that would come up to another so-called secret exit, but how secret would it be? Israel can map these tunnel shafts, so they'll find them. I'm sure America has that capability. Okay. So Russia is and China are getting ready to help Iran coordinate the war. So they're a different type of warrior, Chinese and Russian. They're not into this, let's lay down our life for the 70 virgins. They don't play that game. So Vance is saying negotiations with Iran. He says this, one thing about the negotiations, I will say this morning, is in some ways it went well. They agreed to meet afterwards, but in other ways, it was very clear that the president has set some red lines that the Iranians are not yet willing to actually acknowledge and work through. Not yet willing. So Trump might be thinking of, I can start this, listen to me, I can start this war, and after I get it going, they may call me up on the phone and say, okay, we give in. Okay. Are the Iranians likely to do that? No, not at all. The way they get the war to stop is attacking the other oil-producing countries in the region and the American military bases and probably Israel. And if they can hit anything up in Europe, they would do it. 24 U.S. Air Force KC-135 and KC-46 refueling aerial tankers are deployed to the Middle East. These are in addition to what's already here, which is probably at least 24 or maybe more. You know, if you have 48, let's round it to 50 refueling tankers, each refueling tanker can handle 5 jets. So you got enough to refuel 250 jets. That's pretty big amount. So I don't know if the George Bush is something Trump's going to wait for anymore, because he's got that problem with the increasing the fortifications on the buildings they don't want destroyed. Let me tell you some of the things that have come over recently here. 48 F-16 fighters to the Middle East, 12 F-22s. They never brought anywhere near that many out here. 18 F-35 fighters, 6E, 3G, Sentry, AWACS. No, more than 6 of those AWACS. There was 9, I believe. About 40 refueling aircraft. Well, Israel has 5 or 10 of those too. At least one RC 135V rivet joint strategic intelligence aircraft, and we're not even sure what all that thing does. This is just an incredible buildup. Trump is definitely scared about losing naval assets. So he has some Navy here, but he's not going with the 40 warship model like they did in the past. Okay. Now, we also need to pay attention that their peak readiness, America's peak readiness, is just before the arrival of the Ford aircraft carrier, which is a pretty state-of-the-art aircraft carrier for America. It's really a big one and a good one. Now, some people are already attacking Iran because they're getting explosions and fires almost daily. The latest was a powerful explosion at an ammunition and military fuel warehouse in the city of Sharia. Now, this is interesting. There's a website called Parley Market. I never was there, but I read this, and it says they do bets. It's like a betting place where you could bet on crazy things. So a surgeon bets that an American attack on Iran would occur before March 15th. 2 days ago, the probability was 24%, and now it stands at 55%. Now, that doesn't mean a lot, okay? But it is interesting. I told you there's a NOTAM around the Persian Gulf, Straits of Hormuz region. Now, Israel, I'm starting to see Israel wake up, and it's getting concerning. Israel is saying to the people, you'll have 10 minutes warning of any missiles coming from Iran. That is, when they start talking like that, it's something's up, okay? We're told by, well, Home Front Command is who tells us what to do and what not to do, and they're on our side completely, okay? You know, they're for us. And we're on the highest level of readiness that we could have. And Israel is concerned about a preemptive strike. Not that they're dead bent there's going to be a preemptive strike, but they're concerned about it. They have to make sure we don't get taken off guard, okay? So CBS reports national security officials updated President Trump. The U.S. military is ready for an attack on Iran as early as this coming weekend. Today's Thursday in Israel, which would be in Iran too. Then you got Friday, then the weekend. According to the report, the president so they're getting Trump ready for a final decision, and according to Vance and Rubio, and there's a lot of red lines that Iran won't even want to talk about. So Iran's marking time, and why? They're getting weapons from China and Russia, and they're fortifying anything they want to fortify to survive it. So So the total warships with the Chinese and with the Russian and the Iranians together is 15. And I think Trump's got 10 warships, but American warships are much better than what they have. The Chinese are running typically 3 to 5 boats. They'll have one advanced destroyer and escorts for that destroyer. So China usually sends one good destroyer and then with it one frigate or supply ship and sometimes an additional support ship, and it might have another frigate or not so advanced destroyer or something like that. Okay. Russian Navy said they might have 2 or even 3 destroyers. The Russian Navy is probably 3 to 4 ships. They'll have a frigate or a destroyer, and a supply support ship and escort vessel for backup and stuff. So Iran uses fast attack boats, frigates, drone and missile launching boats, and that sort of thing. So they're not deep inside the Persian Gulf, these warships, guys. They're hanging around by the Straits of Hormuz, which is the exit entrance of the Persian Gulf into the Sea of Oman, and then it goes to the Indian Ocean. So that's where they are. So that's very consistent with the closure of the Persian Gulf, which I told you is a very, very good tactic for them because they can create a lot of trouble and not they're going to think they may not light the war up right away that way. Okay. And one reason that that Russia and China don't want to send a lot of warships over there is if it does break into a fight, they don't want to lose a lot of warships. So they can't defend if they each send 10 warships. They can't defend because then with the warships you need submarines, and then you need air support, and you need resupply fuel, and you need a whole thing, and they don't have it. So if they're going to go light it up, what they're going to do is they'll have to send planes here. Their planes are advanced. They have some that are advanced, but not advanced enough. They're not going to make it. So they may just stay out of the fight and just drag America in as deep as they can, and then open up a front in Europe and a front in Asia, and then further weaken America and then attack America. That would be a plan, but let's see what really happens. We don't know yet, but it looks like it can. Remember, you never know with these things when you're in end times. You can think you know, and you don't know. You don't know. Khomeini, well, I call him Ayatollah Shmuckmeini, if you don't mind. That's what I prefer to call him. Uh, it's amazing the hate level I get here, how many people just want to come in here and write bad things in the chat because I'm in Israel. He's trying to start World War III. He doesn't have any real incentive in doing that. He's got problems. Remember the Epstein files. That's a real problem for him. He's got to get people off of that in a good way. Okay, so he's going to try to come out of this as a really cool guy. Christianity or Islam, neither one. I'm a Bible believer. Christianity doesn't follow the Bible. They just say they do. What do I think about all the high powers being pedo? Yeah, I'm going to put this back up. No, I think they are. Flip over the iPad. I'm upside down. People hate it, huh? I don't know why it bothers you. You can watch it right side up or whatever. It doesn't make a difference. Could this go to World War III? You bet. Um, with China and Russia this close to it, oh yeah. Who's going to come help America if they attack America? NATO? Yeah, I guess. What are they going to do? As little as possible. That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. We know Iran's going to go down. So if I was going to try to guess, but I could be wrong, that Iran and Yemen get wiped out, which is Yemen is Edom. That's also destroyed in Jeremiah 49. And Iraq is part of Elam, which is Iran and Iraq, and they get it. Hezbollah, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm not expecting Hezbollah to do much of anything substantial. I wouldn't plan on it, no. Um, what else? Let's take a quick look and see if anything new popped up. I don't think so. People are still waking up around the world, and although Iran is wide awake at this hour, uh, I'm hearing the Federal Reserve is just printing money again. Yeah, what do you think? It's always going to keep doing that. That's the story. So, real quick, let me check some social media, and I mean really quick. Um, See, there's people in social media that every 2 or 3 hours they put 40 or 50 or 60 posts up. They just put just anything, they just put anything up, but they could waste your time, you know. I don't think anything happened. No, no. So we wait and we watch, and it's not going to be pleasant for Israel, and it might actually wipe out the IDF, and then Israel's going to get really scared, and we approach to Zechariah 12, and then you'll have Elijah, and well, Elijah will be with Enoch, the two witnesses. So read your Zechariah 12:10, Zechariah 12 verse 6, and you'll read about the two witnesses destroying all the enemies round about Israel. Okay. Zechariah 12 verse 6. Read it. You'll see it. It's obvious. Who has fire coming out of their mouth? It's not hard to figure out. And well, I could read it to you. My gosh, it's one. See, there's a siege in Israel. So once America gets weakened, they'll go after Israel. But Zechariah 12:6. I got it crisscrossed. Okay, let me fix this. In that day, that's the day of vengeance, I would say, will I make the governors, now that's the judges, not the governors, it's judges, this would be the correct way of putting it, of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood. Well, who has fire coming out of their mouth? And like a torch of fire in a sheath, and they shall devour, better translated, burn up, all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her. It's incorrect. And Jerusalem shall remain still even in her own place, Jerusalem. Nothing happens at Jerusalem. So you want to go to a safe place, go to Jerusalem. So Israel is probably the safest place anywhere for the believers, but the believers will be safe all over. So it's kind of a silly statement. It doesn't look like it's safe, but it is. Your safety's in Jehovah. Your righteousness is in Yeshua, not your works. And, that's where it comes from. And the Israeli people are very confused, and they're relying too much on Trump and the weapons and the IDF, and that's a bad thing. And that's a sign of a fall coming. So something bad might happen to the military. I don't know. Maybe not. So I'm not going to stay on for a long time today. I'm going to go back and keep digging and try to keep updating you. So that's what I got right now. And to me, it looks like it's on. They're not getting anywhere with Iran. And now Trump's got a problem with Iran protecting all the sites that he wants to destroy. And he's got to worry about this Epstein file. He needs to derail that, get the people on a different wavelength, the war. Then forget about the Epstein. So, my Heavenly Father, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households. I pray we have your strength, stamina, and endurance, your healing and recuperative power flow through us, and we would keep getting better all the time and healed. And I pray for us and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any cars or vehicles. And I pray we don't get discriminated against or picked on by any entities or people, and we don't get attacked or robbed or scammed or frauded or embezzled or ripped off. And I pray the darts of the enemy miss us, and I loose off of all of us that I'm praying for any witchcraft, sorcery, curses, hexes, vexes, spells, enchantments. And I pray we would have adequate money. If we need a job, we find it. If we need clients or customers for our business, they come to us. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray you would reveal more and more of these things to us and make sure we're getting it right. If not, correct us so we get it the right way. And I submit all this to you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I also bind any unclean spirits to put any dreams, visions, witchcraft spells, enchantments, etc., on any of the people that are the true believers in their households, and me and my wife, and all our animals and pets. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I bind all the unclean spirits from doing any works using other people or entities to make trouble or problems for any of us true believers and our households. For the next 50 years continuously, this is in place, and you're so bound. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. So I hope you got something out of this. If the war breaks, I'll be doing more live streams. If there's more important stuff, I'll be doing more live streams. If not, I'll just be updating on Telegram. Okay? And that's what I got for now. I'm still looking for somebody to help me with TikTok and maybe Instagram, if they know how. And that's what I got. And I'm out. And I hope you got something out of it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.